Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So tonight we're going to go through some guitar setup things. Basically setting up neck relief and setting up the action. So I'm not going to be covering stuff like nut height, too complicated for this video. And I'm going to also leave out setting up the intonation because that's really easy. We're going to focus on setting the neck relief and setting the action. So the tools we're going to need for this are, that's an Allen key to fit the truss rod. Next up, some more Allen keys. Basically, we're going to be using one of these. I think it's the 1.5 millimeter to adjust these. So to adjust the saddles. I'm not actually going to adjust them. I'm just going to show you how it's done because this guitar is now being set up. But we'll get to that later. You're going to need your cabo, and that's for setting up the neck relief. We'll get to that later. And last but not least, I'm going to clear these away because this is a discovery that I've made, and I wish I'd bought one of these a lot sooner. One of these, this is a proper guitar measure, basically stainless steel, and it's got all the sort of handy guitar-y measurements that you're going to need to set up neck relief and set up the action. Okay, so I definitely recommend you get one of these. They don't cost much. I think I picked one up for about £5 on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description after this. But get one of these. Don't use a normal ruler. You won't be able to get accurate measurements. And setting up a guitar is all it's about, is accurate measurements. A lot of people talk about feel and things like that, but unless you've got a reference point, you're not really going to know where you are until you've measured things. That's what I'm trying to say, and failing to try to say. So, first of all, let's look at neck relief. So, what is neck relief? Neck relief is basically how much or how little bow you've got in the neck. And when I do that, I don't mean that sort of level of a bow, because you can't actually see the level of bow I'm talking about. What you need is basically a tiny amount of neck relief. Some players prefer to have no neck relief at all. What will happen is, if you've got no neck relief at all, or you might get buzzing on the lower frets, but it'll help out with the higher frets past the 12th. If you've got some neck relief or a lot of neck relief, that'll clear any buzzing on the lower frets, but you may get buzzing past the 12th fret. Now, when on the body fret, where the neck meets the body, from that point on, neck relief becomes irrelevant. It's all about action, or how good condition your frets are in, because the neck relief only goes from there to the nut. So if you've got an issue above the joining fret to the body, it's nothing to do with the neck relief, because that's always going to be dead straight. Hope that makes sense. So to adjust the neck, to test out the neck relief, what you would do is get your cabo, put it on the first fret. And here's another tip for you that I've only just picked up recently. Don't overuse cabos, because cabos are one of the biggest culprits for fret wear. So if you're using a cabo all the time, you'll wear your frets out quicker. So if you're doing stuff like this, don't put it on too tight. And if you use a cabo quite a lot when you're playing, live or whatever, don't put it too tight, because that's a surefire way of wearing out your frets early. So there's a good tip for you. So anyway, cabo on the first fret, okay? And then what you would do is basically, if you can see this, sorry about that, put your finger on the last fret, okay? So what you're doing is you're using the string, which is now dead straight, to see how much neck relief you've got. Now, if you just tap that string, you can sort of feel a gap, so you know that this guitar has got some neck relief in it. If that string didn't move, you would know that there was either no neck relief or you had a sort of a back bow. Now, you definitely don't want a back bow. That's just going to cause you all sorts of problems. You either want it dead straight or you want the tiniest amount of neck relief. Now, by tiniest amount, this is where this comes in. Now, a lot of players, like I said, they go on the feel. So what they would do is they would just put the finger on the last fret there, and they would just, oh, I've got a tiny little gap there. That'll do. That feels good. But I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think the best way to do it is measure how much neck relief you've got, which is very difficult to do unless you've got one of these. So what's been said is, on various parts of the internet, is that a good amount of neck relief is 0.01 of an inch. So basically 1/100th of an inch. And this ruler here is really good for measuring that. So that's, I don't know if you can see that. Trying to get a close up for you. Don't know if you can see that, but there's the measurement there. 1/100th of an inch. That's where you want to set your neck relief. Okay, so what we're going to do is, like I say, your capo's on, your fingers on the final fret, and what you want to do is come to the 8th fret, okay? The 7th for the 8th, let's go for the 8th. That's because that's going to be basically where the gap is the widest. And I'll see if I can get a zoom in here for you. Let's see if I can do this. So here is my 8th fret. And I don't know if you can see that too good, but the action, sorry, let's do this properly. Put the string down at the last fret, and I'm coming here, and I can see that string is exactly on that 100th of an inch mark. So that is perfect. Now, so I don't need to change it. Now, if you did need to change it, so if it was not enough or too much neck relief, I'll just zoom back out here for you. What you would do is get your Allen key. Basically, if you've got not enough neck relief, okay, so then if it's too straight, you want to just get that in there. Sorry, I've already set mine up, so I don't want to be messing about with it. But you put your Allen key in there and you loosen it off a tiny bit, and I'm talking about 1/8 of a turn, anti-clockwise to the left. Yeah, left to loosen. That's all it needs. And don't believe what people tell you. You don't have to leave it. It'll happen pretty much instantaneously. Just make a tiny adjustment at a time. Don't even go for a 1/4 of a turn. Definitely not 1/2 a turn. Just a little bit. 1/8 of a turn, I'd say. 1/4 of a turn at the max at a time. Check again until you've got that 100th of an inch gap. Now, some players prefer more, some players prefer less. So if you've got that 100th of a mil gap, but you're still experiencing fret buzz on the lower frets, you're going to need a bit more neck relief, unfortunately. So just try it out, but as a guide, so that you know where you are as a starting point, go for the 100th of an inch, and then you'll know where the starting point is and where you've got to go from there. So hope that's clear. Hope I haven't waffled on too much there. Right, so that's the neck relief. So once you're happy with that, and I am happy with this neck relief, what will happen is, if you've got the neck relief set up correctly, you'll just notice the guitar plays a lot looser, I think is the best way to describe it. There's a lot more give when you're bending strings and stuff. It just feels more right. If you haven't got any neck relief, for me, it doesn't. It feels a bit stiff. A lot of players prefer no neck relief because they like the more even feel across the board, you know. But a lot of players who do a lot of bends, you know, prefer to have that bit of neck relief in. Most players, you know, would prefer some neck relief in the guitar. So there we go. That's the neck relief set. So now we're going to move over to the action. Now, Fender specs say the action is, I think it's something like 4/64ths of an inch at the 12th fret. Now, I hate the way, you know, the guitar measurements are, you know, are still laid out. It's very, very confusing. With this, it's made it a lot easier. So I hate having to use inches and using millimeters for the, you know, to measure the same object. But yeah, for the neck relief, it does make it easier having that the 100th of an inch guide on there. For the action, I found that rather than saying 4/64ths of an inch, I like to go for I like to use millimeters instead. So what I would say is for a Stratocaster, 1.5 millimeters at the 12th fret is a good starting point. So same thing again. What we're going to do is no capo this time. I'm just going to zoom it in a little bit. So a lot simpler this time. We're just going to switch the gauge round so it's onto the millimeters. And I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and zoom in a little bit more. Here we go. Right, that's better. Right, so 12th fret is 1.5 millimeters. Perhaps even a little bit under, but that's just about perfect. And a bit different to the relief. What you want to do is you want to check that on every single string as well, because there is, you know, a curve to the fingerboard. So you don't, you know, for example, you don't want your high E miles off the fingerboard and your B string lower. You want them all uniformly 1.5 millimeters, I would say. You know, some people have said, you know, you get your higher strings lower, your bass strings higher, but I'm just trying to keep it simple in this. You can if you want. I'm just trying to keep it simple for you in this video. 1.5 is a good gauge, and then go from there. If you've set it up to 1.5 and you can get it lower than that, I mean, this is a 9.5 inch radius fingerboard, right? So it's going to be very difficult to get this lower than 1.5 millimeters, because when you're bending strings, it'll just choke out. If it's a 12-inch board like on a Gibson, or I know that the Fender Player Plus has a 12-inch radius board, it might be a bit easier to get it down to closer to 1 millimeter. But you know, 1 millimeter, you're talking, you know, metal speed necks or whatever. 1.5 for me is a really good compromise. I like a little bit of height for bends. So yeah, but you know, I've already, as I said, I've already set this guitar up, so I'm happy with the action. But if you wanted to adjust the action, it's literally just a case of, you know, getting the correct Allen key. It's always a bit of a nightmare. On the traditional, well, these Mexican player strats, they came, the stock saddles take 1.27 millimeter Allen keys, but I replaced them with, these are really nice block saddles from Northwest Guitars, and these take a 1.5 Allen key. So what you would do is just get the correct Allen key. Always get the correct Allen key. You don't want to, you know, strip the threads out of the the screws. So yeah, so it's just literally a case of just getting the correct Allen key and just adjusting up or down. Easy, dead easy on a Strat. Yeah, and that's it really. I mean, everybody should learn how to, set up their own instruments. It doesn't cost much at all, and if you've got the right tools, it's just dead easy. Like I say, I think it's better to have a starting point and measure everything, because otherwise you've got no idea about where you are with the action. You might have a guitar that plays terribly, and you need to sort of investigate why that is and measure stuff. You might have a guitar that plays brilliantly and you don't know why. Well, if you've got one of these, you can find out why. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend getting one of those. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got something from it. And yeah, if you've got a Strat or any guitar that's not playing too good, just give it a go at setting it up. Why not? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.